go ahead and CC those 72 Dolphins. There are bottles to be popped. The quest for perfection comes to a close on this last gasp by the Birds, and it ends in another turnover and another touchdown for the Commanders. 32-21 is your final. That's Casey Toohill going out with a bang and scooping that one up for the score. Taylor Heineke leading his team to victory over the previously unbeaten Birds. Reason enough to celebrate in Philly. 32-21 again is your final here. Washington was catching 11. 4-1 on the money line. Did you dabble? If you did, you're crazy and we love you. Jalen Hurts 17-26 for $174, 2 touchdowns, a pick. And importantly, this Eagles team coming into the day had turned the ball over 3 total times this season. Here on Monday Night Football, 4 turnovers in their first loss of the season. All right, let's dive in with our guy, Bryant McFadden, the 2-time Super Bowl champ who knows what it takes to go on the road and win one, and that's exactly what the Commanders do in this spot. The game plan was clear and effective in the first half. Time of possession tells the story. Roughly 40 minutes to 20 minutes, advantage Washington. I mean, what did you make of this game plan and the execution of it?
Great game plan for Washington, being able to keep that explosive offense from the Eagles on the sideline while utilizing the clock. And then taking advantage of your scoring opportunities is something that the Commanders were able to do as well. And then you hit on it. Sloppy play from Philadelphia, but hats off to the Commanders' defense being able to force those big-time turnovers, hustling to create fumbles, being able to come down with interceptions. They put together an outstanding game plan outside of harassing Jalen Hurts, but being able to become an opportunistic defense, and they were able to benefit from that. Now, granted, that was a costly missed call because clearly Goddard got face masked, but yet and still the referees didn't make the call. They forced the turnover. This was another huge play right here. Outstanding interception. So these guys put together a outstanding game plan on both sides of the football, but hats off to this defense because you remember, Joe, coming to this ball game tonight, Philadelphia's defense was very, very explosive, super consistent, was able to run the football against any defense they faced off against, and of course, Jalen Hurts was putting up MVP-like numbers. We didn't see anything as such in tonight's matchup. Yeah,
I want to touch upon a number of those things there. You mentioned the no call there with the face mask. There was a pivotal call here late in this game with about 1:40 left. Taylor Heineke slides down to essentially give himself up and take a knee. You had 2 defenders running at the same time, and here we take a look at that play. Yes, in slow motion, it tells a different story. I'm not sure there's forcible contact or a personal foul there, but it does extend the drive, allows Washington to essentially kneel out the clock. Did you take issue with the way that this play was officiated?
Yo, Joe, I hate the call, but by the letter of the law, it's the right call. By the letter of the law, it's the right call. I hate it because, like you said, slow motion, you see it one way. In-game action, you see it another way. Clearly, Brandon Graham was trying to brace himself because one thing you have to understand in regards to playing the game of football full speed, it's impossible to stop automatically. It's impossible for you to do that, especially if you're a guy who's 260, 270 plus, and you're running full speed and instantly you're supposed to stop. It doesn't happen that way. But by the letter of the law, especially knowing how they protect quarterbacks, it was the right call.
Yeah, that's just that way that one's going to be officiated in today's NFL. I mean, so much of this game was decided in the second half, and time of possession is one thing, execution is another. This is a Washington offense that moved the ball effectively, both through the run and the pass. Taking a look at the numbers, 12 of 21 on third down, 330 total yards. You're looking at 32 points from this offense. Yes, you do get 6 late in garbage time with a bit of a yakety sax moment there, but how were they so effective offensively, B-Mac, in your eyes in taking that game plan and not just playing keep away, but moving the football down the field and scoring it?
Well, Joe, they committed to the ground and pound attack, and they never wavered from that mentality. And yes, when you look at their average yards per carry, roughly around 3.1 to be exact. But what they did was they ran the football, they committed to run the football, and they got in favorable third down situations. I mean, oftentimes throughout this ball game in 4 quarters, it was 3rd and 3, 3rd and 2, 3rd and 1, 3rd and 4. Those are manageable situations, especially when you talk about being on the road. So that's something that I found to be a big-time strong suit for the Commanders, and that's an issue that is starting to surface for the Philadelphia Eagles. They miss Jordan Davis massively. He's a big man. He's a strong man. He's a guy that can command the interior of that defensive line. And with him not in the lineup, there has been some holes. Even if you go back to last Thursday night game against the Houston Texans, yes, they won easily against the Texans. But remember, Pierce, the rookie running back for Houston, had a nice day.
Yep.
He had success running the football. In tonight's matchup against the Commanders, when you look at the duo of Robertson and Gibson, together, they had a nice day. So they have to find, the Eagles that is, they have to find a better way to win first downs, especially when you know you will get a heavy dose of the ground and pound attack from offenses that you will face off against.
Yeah, perhaps that game plan is now out there and the playbook is out on how you beat this Eagles team. Easier said than done, obviously. We're not talking about a one-loss Eagles team. I want to get to that in a moment here, but we talked about it earlier in the season, week 4, week 5, week 6. I asked you specifically, I asked our guy Ryan Wilson, Pete Prisco, if you were worried about the Eagles in the second half and in the fourth quarter, that scoring differential specifically. There was a C.J. Gardner-Johnson interception in this game that felt like that shift in momentum, and this offense was unable to capitalize. They give the ball right back. Are we now allowed to be worried about this Eagles team in the fourth quarter?
I mean, what, they're 8-1, Joe? I mean, we're looking right now. We're searching for something to criticize this ball club on. I think in regards to the run defense, that's something to monitor. And in regards to your question, finishing ball games in the second half, especially in the fourth quarter, is something to monitor as well. Usually they have a nice lead where they kind of take their foot off the gas on both sides of the football. But what we saw tonight was they needed to come from behind. They didn't have that Viking-ish vibe going for them being able to be battle tested, because throughout the course of the year, they haven't really faced a lot of adversity. So I think this is a team, when you talk about the health, when you talk about being talented, they have the guys to get it done. We just saw a sloppy ball game. We saw a lot of mental errors. We saw a lot of bad play on both sides of the football and turnovers. You talked about 4 turnovers. I don't care who you're playing against and what their record is. Anytime you have 4 turnovers on one side, you're probably going to lose that ball game.
Yeah, 3 coming into the night, now 7 on the season, 4 turnovers, 2 of them coming in the fourth quarter. Not a winning formula tonight or any night for the Philadelphia Eagles. As we move forward here, anytime one of these teams carries a long streak, this is the best ever start to an Eagles season, you immediately go to the spin zone of, is this good for the Philadelphia Eagles? Losing in this moment, not that close to playoff time, you get one in the loss column, you can bounce back and really figure out where you do need to be better. Do you find a silver lining in this loss?
I mean, anytime you lose is not a good thing. I think in regards to the Eagles being the only undefeated team, now you don't have to answer questions. Do you want to go undefeated? Do you think you can go undefeated? What's at stake if you're 17-0? What's at stake if you're 15-0, 16-0? You know, do you try to push to get an undefeated season? You know, you don't have to answer those questions anymore. And also, too, anytime you take a loss, it humbles you a little bit. It makes you showcase a sense of humility based on what you were doing and just winning week in and week out. Now you don't have to necessarily go back to the drawing board, but understand some of the things that were kind of getting swept under the rug when you win. Now you got to remove that rug and now dissect exactly what went wrong so they won't continue to surface for this ball club. So that's the only silver lining I can imagine that one would think of in regards to this matchup. But losing to Washington, a divisional foe, is something you want to happen, but yet and still, they're sitting pretty nice in the division as we see it tonight.
Yeah, Nick Sirianni has done a masterful job coaching this team this season. Coachable moments coming out of their first loss of the season. A couple more before we let you go here, B-Mac, because Taylor Heineke deserves some flowers on this night, too. Didn't blow anybody's hair back. We're looking at 17 of 29, roughly, 211 for Heineke here on the night. But there is a quarterback conversation happening in Washington, and that's the one between Taylor Heineke and Carson Wentz, who's just about ready to be brought back into the fold. I guess I'll ask it this way. Did Carson Wentz lose his job on this night, B-Mac?
I won't say he lost his job in tonight's matchup, but I can say this. One thing that I like with Taylor Heineke when he's the lineup, and I mentioned this during the pregame show, he might not be the most skillful quarterback on the football field. He might not be the most accurate. But one thing he has is something that you can't coach or teach, which is juice, which is energy. He plays with a lot of energy, And the team, they rally around him with that energy. Let's keep it real. You saw how excited he was when Graham hit him with that personal foul. He plays that way. He plays with a lot of fire in his belly, and that kind of, takes up for some of the things that he might lack in regards to being a pure quarterback. He had a big-time interception. You talked about Chauncey Gardner-Johnson with that huge interception, but he didn't get down. He bounced right back. So that's the thing that he provides this team that Carson Wentz wasn't necessarily giving them. And I can say this much, Taylor Heinicke is a guy who will give you a fighting chance. He's that sparring partner. When you jump in the ring against, you know you have the talent to beat him up. But if you're not careful, and if you have that left hand a little too low, he might hit you on the chin and put you to sleep.
Yeah.
Guess what? He put the Eagles to sleep tonight.
He landed that punch, and it was a knockout here on Monday Night Football in primetime against an undefeated divisional foe. We'll see how it plays out. He did say postgame he'll just be ready whenever they call his number. You started the day, B-Mac, in the P2 purple, and you already mentioned your Vikings here as we take a look now at that playoff picture with two teams sitting at 8-1 through 10 weeks. I know we looked at these numbers a night ago, but the picture now looks different. How's it shaping up in your eyes right now, the NFC playoff picture?
Yo, I love it. It's getting sticky. It's getting dicey. And you're talking about the Vikings, but don't forget about the 5th spot right now, the Giants.
Yep.
Currently 7-2. They were rooting for the Commanders to take care of their business against the Eagles. The same can be said for the 6th spot with the Cowboys all being in the same division. They were rooting for the Commanders to take care of their business. So you have a lot of teams rooting against the Philadelphia Eagles in regards to divisional seeding and in regards to the total playoff seeding right now. So this is what we all want to see. It's not necessarily March Madness where you have bracket busters, but right now, a little chaos is starting to formulate, especially in the NFC East in regards to the top spot, the number 2 spot, and the 3rd spot. And all 3 teams, I do believe, have a legit chance to get into the playoffs, but it's going to get dicey. Shout out to the Commanders for stirring up a little bit of chaos, specifically speaking, in the NFC East.
He starts the night in a jersey there for the Minnesota Vikings and ends it maybe in some Commander colors there. Maybe we should have known, B-Mac. Great stuff as always, my friend.
Thank you, sir.
And don't forget, the conversation continues on all things covered. Yeah, we got P2, and P2 had to, and he's going to be talking about it. Patrick Peterson, Bryant, McFadden sitting down with some of the biggest names in sports and entertainment for can't-miss conversations week in and week out. Download All Things Covered right now. Get it in your ears and enjoy. All right, let's head back out to Philly, where Riverboat Ron is at the podium.
Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.